You're very welcome to Destination News Newsbite here on a Wednesday evening. No further COVID-related deaths recorded by the Department of Health. The total stands at 556. Total cases of COVID here in Northern Ireland, 5,789. The Irish Department of Health has reported 2 corona-related deaths and 14 new cases. The total number of deaths in the Republic of Ireland is 1,748, with total cases of 25,683. Total cases on the island of Ireland, 37,281, and total deaths on the island of Ireland, 2,304. In the UK reported 85 additional deaths, bringing their total to over 45,053. In Wales, 2 more deaths in Wales, bringing their total to 1,545. And Public Health Wales says that there's 16,854 people with COVID-19. In Scotland, again, the same as last night, the figures show that 2,490 people have died with COVID-19, although it could be higher. Weekly data published by the National Records of Scotland show that up to the 5th of July, there were 4,187 deaths registered in Scotland. Here at Reamonn and Down, the total deaths are 46, with 375 confirmed cases of COVID-19. And in Armagh City Banbridge and Craigavon, 747 confirmed cases with 85 deaths in that area. Stormont's Infrastructure Minister Nicola Mallon has said she supports the use of face coverings in shops. Wearing a face covering in shops will be mandatory in England from the 24th of July, but Northern Ireland, it is only compulsory on public transport, going to hospitals or visiting care homes. However, Mrs. Mallon said that the science supports mask use on public transport. That should be extended to shops. The executive said the issue was kept under continuous review. During the early stages of COVID-19, Ms. Mallon argued for the introduction of face coverings on public transport in Northern Ireland, a move which comes into force on the 10th of July, which it did. A group of MPs has questioned if the government can meet its promise of unfettered trade between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. The Northern Ireland Affairs Committee has been examining Northern Ireland part of the Brexit deal known as the Protocol. The government has said that when it takes into effect January, it will not mean new processes for Northern Ireland to Great Britain trade. But the MP said unfettered access will need a concession from the EU that it is not yet granted. The focus is on a piece of administration known as an exit summary declaration. The government has repeatedly said this will not be needed for Northern Ireland goods being sent to Great Britain. It was this paperwork that the Prime Minister suggested Northern Ireland businesses could throw in the bin. However, the EU said the declarations were a requirement of its customs rules. So no new processes for Northern Ireland firms sending goods to the GB. Government confirmed new checks on goods entering Northern Ireland. The protocol means that Northern Ireland will continue to follow EU customs rules, even though it remains part of the UK customs territory. The committee concluded that the UK's approach depends on the EU granting waivers for the export declarations and exit summary declarations. While the government interpretation is desirable, it is ultimately a matter for the EU whether it grants this concession. Well, we hope it does. The MPs have called for the government to explain how it facilitates unfettered access if it does not get the necessary waivers. The issue is currently being considered by the EU-UK Committee overseeing the Brexit deal. The protocol will mean a range of new processes and checks on GB to Northern Ireland trade, including customs declarations. However, businesses have so far been given only limited information about what they will have to do as a result. The committee said that businesses must be given clear instructions by October at the last. Chairman Simon Horne MP said political process must not trump the interests and the people of Northern Ireland. The government may be able to wait until the wire for clarity on customs arrangements, but businesses cannot, he has said. The Cabinet Office responded that the protocol will uphold the gains of the Belfast Agreement, protect and ensure the place of Northern Ireland to the UK customs territory and ensure no hard border on the island of Ireland. This guarantees unfettered access to Northern Ireland's goods across the UK, no tariffs on goods moving within the UK, and no new physical customs infrastructures in Northern Ireland, it is said. The Cabinet Office added that it was engaging intensively with businesses, and the Executive of Northern Ireland will set out further guidance later this month. Well, it's pretty complicated, but we'll keep you covered up on that one. And again, Apple Apple and Ireland have won their appeal against the European Commission's 13.1 billion tax ruling. The General Court of the European Union has annulled the decision taken by the Commission regarding the Irish tax rulings in favour of Apple. According to the GCEU, the Commission was wrong to declare that Apple sales internationally and Apple's operations in Europe had been granted a selective economic advantage and by extension state aid. It says the Commission failed to show to the requisite legal standard that Apple enjoyed preferential treatment which amounted to illegal state aid. In a statement, the Department of Finance said it welcomes the judgment by the EU court. Ireland has always been clear that there was no special treatment provided to the two Apple companies, ASI and AOE. The correct amount of Irish tax was charged in line with normal Irish taxation rules, it said. Ireland appealed the Commission's decision on the basis that Ireland granted no state aid, and the decision today from the court supports this view. The European Commission is expected to appeal the judgment to the upper court. Well, it's a wee bit complicated, all that, but Apple didn't do anything wrong. The Irish government didn't do anything wrong, and now it's up to the EU. Will they take them back to the higher court? Well, we'll watch that story and see. But before we go, we have another little story. You've heard about the Camino walk all over the world, and we have a man here who is going to tell us about Camino Arwaha, and that's you're going to walk from a certain part of Armagh to another certain part. And of course, this man's the legendary Reamonn Kearns. And Reamonn, I know that you are the official autobiographer of the legend that is Hugh Hullen, and you've wrote several books about him. And it's, well, I mean, you have the book that I've got of you. It's just phenomenal. So tell us a little bit, about the Camino Mhacha and where it starts and where it ends and what it's all about.
It starts at T. Cullen, and there's a very good reason for it starting at T. Cullen, because Cuchulainn, when he was a boy, was called Shedanda, which nowadays would be realised as Setanta. But Shedanda walked from Navanfort to the whereabouts of T. Cullen today, and it was there that he arrived late for a feast, and Cullen, the master craftsman, weapon maker, shield maker, had released his ferocious hound to protect his herds and his flocks and allow the men, and it was mainly men feasting inside, to enjoy their merrymaking. And the good humour in the feast was broken by the screeches outside, and everybody thought that Shedanda had been torn to shreds by the ferocious hound. But as it happened, Shedanda had actually slew the hound, Cullen's hound, and in recompense he agreed to be Cullen's hound until a replacement hound could be found, thus gaining the title Cuchulainn. And Cuchulainn went on to inspire artists, revolutionaries, sportsmen and women, and I suppose he walked back from T. Cullen on the side of Slieve Gullion to Armagh City, to Navanfort, and we're going to recreate that return heroic journey, and we're entitling it Camino Waha, because we're hoping to raise money for the new state-of-the-art Irish Language and Arts Centre in Armagh City, open to all, called Éanach Waha. And Mhacha is very, very important in this story, because Mhacha guided the story of the Red Branch heroes and Cuchulainn in many different guises, very often as a grey-backed crow. And Mhacha, you may know, was forced to run against King Conor MacNeasa's horses, and King Conor MacNeasa was Cuchulainn's uncle, and she was heavily pregnant, and she won the race, And the reason why she was forced to race against the King Conor McNas's horses was because her husband, Crutnach, had been boasting while he had taken too much drink on board. So she won the race, gave birth to her twins, thus naming Au and Mhacha, Mhacha's twins, Navan Fort Hill. And this is very important because it is really true to say that we are, as a race of people, racing the resources of this planet to exhaustion in the very same way that the men of Ulster raced Mhacha, heavily pregnant woman, to exhaustion for merriment, to prove some sort of irrelevant point. And Mhacha placed a curse on the men of Ulster, and some say that it in a way afflicts us still, but I think we're breaking out of the curse because our troubles have lessened. But we need to keep an eye on our ecology. We need to keep an eye on our environment. And that's why we are marrying the mythology, the ecology, the language, and fitness and health for both body and mind in Camino Mhacha on the 1st of August, walking over the hills and through the glens on the back roads mainly to raise money for Éanach Mhacha, the centre that bears the name of the goddess of fertility, the goddess of the very land. You might call Mhacha our collective goddess, because we rely on the land. The land sustains us. We're not respecting it here in Ireland or across the globe. And it's because of the human race not respecting the land and our fellow creatures that we have, for example, the global pandemic. That did not happen by accident. It happened for the same reason that Mhacha's curse was laid on the men of Ulster. For the men of Ulster, we might read the human race, because the world has become a smaller place. So we need to heed the messages in our ancient mythology. We should not be exploiting pregnant women. We should be kind to strangers in our midst. And most importantly, we cannot continue destroying the very ecology that sustains us due to our own greed. For example, taking live animals and selling them for profit, and therefore causing untold disease and sickness and death, like the COVID pandemic. But it'll be a fun day with a serious message, and it will raise money for Éanach Mhacha. Crucially, Éanach Mhacha opened on the 6th of March and had to close on the 13th of March. It's unlike many, many other businesses and organizations, because we really just got opened and then it was closed. And our business plan is very much based on the centre running, the coffee shop having customers, the theatre having shows. Without that, we can't pay our bills. To date, we haven't received any COVID support, but we have some very good people local to the viewership of Destination Uri, and we're relying heavily on their support to stand up for the Éanach Mhacha cause. A little bit of help will go a long way, and we're helping ourselves by raising money through Camino Mhacha.
Well, Reamonn, it's you very eloquently tied in the world in this little snippet here. And I'm thinking back to through the myths of time to all the great legends, and of course there was always a reason for these legends to be about. And when you talk about the ecology and you talk about the land and you talk about all these things, and what you've just said, you've just brought it all back. And this wonderful picture here in front of us that we're looking at here, it's just spectacular. It's on our doorsteps. But tell me this, the walk, when we leave Mullaban, where do we go? What direction do we head?
Yeah, well, that's one thing we'll be hoping to do. We're hoping to, like, all through the Troubles, South Armagh was a place apart. But as Una Walsh said, and I watched and listened to Una speaking with you, fascinating shows, and I want to go through them again with a notebook in hand. Una was eloquently describing how rich the history is in South Armagh, and there's no line that cuts Armagh in half. You will know, Damian, yourself from being in the athletic grounds in Armagh. When we get together, we're Armagh, and Armagh County has been in existence since Saint John or King John laid down the border territories in the Anglo-Norman times, and we've grown to be a people that connect with that territorial area, and we're not only are we Armagh, but we're Ulster, and we're also Oriel, which straddles the border, brings in Louth and Monaghan. So this Camino Mhacha will really, for once and for all, show that the people of Armagh are one. We're not North Armagh, South Armagh, we're Armagh people. And when we leave, to get back to your question, Damian, when we leave T. Cullen, we'll be maybe getting a group selfie with the statue of Cuchulainn there at T. Cullen, and then we'll be walking up the bog road and then turning right, heading towards Redmond's Cross, and we'll be turning left and going towards Cashel Lake. And we'll not reach Cashel Lake, but we'll be crossing then the main Newry Crossmaglen Road near between Cashel Lake and Andoff Chapel, and heading towards Dorsey, the famous prehistoric ramparts designed to not necessarily keep everybody out, but keep out those that would harm us. And as well as being barriers, the Dorsey was a gateway. So it just was like a checkpoint Charlie in the time of the Red Branch heroes, and we'll be stopping at Cullyhanna. And although this is not confirmed, I imagine that there might be some liquid refreshments taken on board in Cullyhanna, and even some food, I imagine, and a small rest there. But then, interestingly, we'll not be going on the main road. We're again sticking to the back roads. These roads, of course, wouldn't have existed when Cuchulainn made his heroic return journey. He would have been walking through the Fuse forests. But anyway, we'll be making our way to Altnamacken, and up there at Altnamacken, we'll be turning right and making our way to Armagh Braig. And Armagh Braig, of course, means false Armagh, not in any artificial sense. The people of Armagh Braig during medieval times, well, there would have been a holy place there, presumably a monastery close to Ballymacnab, the townland of the abbey, or the townland of the abbot, I suppose I should say. So it was a holy place that aspired to be like the greater Armagh. So you might say, instead of saying false Armagh, which Armagh Brigg means, you might say mini Armagh. So we'll be going through mini Armagh, which aspires to be the bigger spiritual home of the country, not just the spiritual home of Ulster or Armagh, the spiritual home of Christianity, and the spiritual home pre-Christian also at Navan Fort. After Armagh Brigg, well, we'll be going through the most stunning, beautiful scenery all the way over the hills, at the foot of Carrickachuk, the Rock of the Hawk, which was also called Slieve Fuad. It was an outpost of the Red Branch heroes, and you can see Navan Fort from Carrickachuk, the top of Carrickachuk. Unfortunately, somebody decided it would be a wonderful idea to put a communications tower on Carrickachuk. During when I was a child, I remember the outcry about that. So it wouldn't be allowed in other areas in Europe, and maybe that's who we campaign for us all, to get rid of that tower on Carrickachuk. But no lesser a person than Owen McNeill, who issued the countermand at Easter 1916. Well, he went to the top of Carrickachuk to establish once and for all. He had binoculars, he had compasses, he had maps, and he established that Carrickachuk was in actual fact the place known in mythology as Slieve Fuad, because people had thought it might be Mullayash, others had thought that it might be Slieve Gullion. It's Carrickachuk, according to Owen McNeill. And after the foot of Carrickachuk, where Cuchulainn, actually Shidanda himself, rested there on his first journey from Dundalk to Navan Fort, and horses walked around him at night. And it was on Carrickachuk, there used to be lakes, mystical lakes there. The two horses came out and they became Cuchulainn's trusty steeds, the grey of Mhacha and the black of Sanglin. So these places are very, very much intertwined with our mythological tales. And after Carrickachuk, well, we'll be heading to Tassa. Tassa, very much connected with a waterfall, which is what Tassach means. You have the Tassa Viaduct there. And hopefully, again, although this has not been confirmed, but I imagine we'll be pulling in somewhere there for, again, some refreshments, and then we'll be on the homeward straight. So you will remember that I spoke of the Mhacha being made race against the horses of King Conor MacNessa, and winning the race and giving birth to the twins. But it was a cruel affair, making a heavily pregnant woman race against horses. In Farn McCaffrey, right past around Ennislair, and Drumconwell Fort, well, there is horse racing, which takes place to this very day. And it's no accident that at the foot of Drumconwell Fort, one of the few Ogham stones was taken from what is called to this day the graveyard. It's actually a field at the foot of Drumconwell. An Ogham stone was taken from there. It says Conwell on the Ogham stone, and it is now to be viewed at the Church of Ireland And so that's a wonderful connection to go and have a look at that there. And it's probably there that race took place, because Mhacha is the name of the centre. It's the name of the fair where that race took place, and we'll be motoring on. Then we'll be going on to the main Katy Armagh road, but we're going on the Rock Road, which isn't quicker in a car, but it's quicker when you're on Shanks's mare, and we'll glance past the turn off for Navan Fort, because I know we thought it was going to be 22 miles, and then we went on to a back road and it grew to 24 miles. It's actually going to be a couple of yards shy of a marathon. So it's almost 26 miles, and we'll be making our way to Mhacha, the home of the Irish language and arts in Armagh City. And there we'll be having a hero's return. And our best guess at this stage is that there will be a buffet, hopefully provided by the Indian restaurant right beside us. That would be the most sensible thing to do. But we have some details to work out. We'll also have a bus following us, so that if anybody gets into any difficulty, the bus will also be handing out snacks and drinks. It's going to be a fun day, but we do need to raise funds because of what I said, opening on the 6th of March and being forced to close on the 13th of March after 10 years of work.
Well, Reamonn, you have given us a fabulous description of the walk and where you're going and where the walk's going, and I can nearly feel the hand of Cuchulainn and the whole mystic scenario coming in from Mullaban, the Foots of Slieveguillion, to the capital, ecclesiastical capital of Ireland. I wish you well on it. I absolutely would hope that maybe I could be part of that walk. I will try and make it my business. I don't know if there'll be football on that day or will be live on air. I don't know. But if I'm not, I would love to take part in that, because I think it's a wonderful thing. And the way you've described it there, I think it's going to be a fantastic thing. And obviously, it's going to be a continuous thing. You'll signpost that and you'll keep it going. So it'll be brilliant. And never mind what they have in Kerry or any other part of the world. We have it here in South Armagh to North Armagh or Mid Armagh. It'll be a wonderful experience. So Reamonn, the man that writes about our mythical heroes and who has a line to them, I don't know how you get talking to these people, if they talk to you at night or they talk to you in your sleep.
Well, I'll tell you, Damian, you listen to the quiet voice, and you need to give yourself a bit of time. And this idea, it was a seed gestating for years, and because of our situation, it took it grew shoots, and it's going to happen.
And it'll grow into a mighty oak. Reamonn, thanks a million. It has been brilliant talking to you, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up later on as this builds towards the 1st of August. I wish you well. I wish you well on your trip. I hope you raise lots of money, and let's hope that people get behind you. So Reamonn, thanks a million for being part of our news bite here this evening, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. We'll do this again very, very soon.
Great.